Myra, do we have a quorum?
That's what I'm going through right now.
Thank
Yes,
you.
we do.
Okay, we are live on Facebook and we are ready to begin. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
How is everyone?
Okay.
Good.
Fine. Good.
Happy New Year. I'd like to call this special Board of Commissioners meeting to order on Thursday, January 14th, 2021 at 8:30 a.m. Myra, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Windmiller,
Present.
Commissioner Zimmerman,
Here.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Simmons,
Here.
Commissioner Costello,
Present.
Commissioner Cox, Commissioner Galladay,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Gladney,
Here.
Commissioner Beach.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Yes, we do.
Thank you. I ask you to look at your agenda, item 3, the memorandum of agreement with St. Louis City and St. Louis County regarding the mass prophylactics dispensing resolution number 1106. And I would ask Jessica Mefford Miller, Chuck Stewart, and Steve Berry for comments, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'll ask Steve Berry to brief you on these MOAs.
Thank you.
Morning, everyone. Happy New
Good
Year to
morning.
you. The MOAs before you with the City of St. Louis and St. Louis County Health Departments have been reviewed and are being presented to you today for the purpose of designating Bi-State Development as a provider, which is defined as an organization willing to become a closed point of dispensing for dispensing medications to its own employees and identified household family members only. There are several phases to distribution of the vaccine. Phase 1 has been underway within our region for several weeks. We are part of phase 2, which is called 1B. This contains frontline essential workers such as firefighters, police, corrections, food workers, manufacturers, and public transit workers. MOAs would allow BSD to be a closed pot, which is a point of distribution, arrange for its employees and dependents, if desired and if vaccine is available, to be vaccinated. Pre-screening questions will be asked before vaccinating along with certificate cards. We are preparing a overall management program that comes along with the MOAs that is currently underway that contains communications, a voluntary support program, identifying the third-party providers, and also scheduling a time period and several other components that come along with the benefit of providing this service to our employees. It's been a very long and difficult 10 months, but along the way, the Emergency Operations Center here at Bi-State has done a wonderful job and working very closely with the CEO and Executive Director, maintaining contact with the city and both county health departments, along with the state, the FTA, the TSA, and others that are involved in this process. We feel very strongly that we have put together the very beginning point as we pivot into the next stage of our pandemic process. And we're very excited to offer this to our employees here in the very near future. Because there is such a large level of support, we are going to look at every point of distribution that would allow the ease and the vaccination process to go smoothly. That probably will relate into several points of distribution here amongst our BSD property and to the various employees. We anticipate a very robust effort, and we look forward to seeing the health and security of our employees being utmost importance. With that, are there any questions for me at this time?
Questions for Steve?
Yes, I have one. Steve, is this going to take in consideration the employees on the Illinois side at the garage over here?
Oh, it includes all the employees, Commissioner.
Thank you.
The third-party administrator will be certified to distribute in both Missouri and Illinois.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? This is obviously an important component of keeping our staff safe, so I'm happy to know that things are going forward. I wish things were moving quicker at both the state and the national level. So expediting this MOA is to me of great importance. So hearing no more questions, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Do we need a roll call vote, Myra?
No, a roll call is not needed.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, item number 4, is an intergovernmental agreement between the City of St. Louis and Bi-State Development, Resolution number 1107. Jessica, I believe that you have some things to discuss with us on this issue.
Yes, Commissioner. Good morning again, Commissioners, and Happy New Year to you. We have before you this morning for consideration and approval an intergovernmental agreement between Bi-State Development and the City of St. Louis for Bi-State to jointly enter into the management of the North Side, South Side Corridor Technological Alternatives Analysis. Now, this study is being conducted at the behest of the City of St. Louis. They would like to advance the North Side, South Side Corridor, which has long been the topic for planning studies within our region. Most recently, in 2018, East West Gateway completed the North Side, South Side conceptual design study that envisions this corridor to be a light rail corridor operating from Grand in the north to Chippewa in the south of the City of St. Louis. The city recognizes a great need for high capacity rapid transit within these corridors, which is along some of their greatest pockets of residential density. However, they also recognize some of the limitations of constructing the light rail corridor as envisioned, namely the capital and operating costs associated with doing so. They would like to explore different mode options for this corridor, as well as revisit that conceptual design that was completed in 2018 at a very high level and identify potential strategies for reducing the capital and operating cost if light rail were a chosen mode. This is a planning study. This is not an engineering or design, certainly not a construction study, but this would allow the city to make a decision regarding whether to advance the North Side, South Side corridor, and if so, what mode of transit should be utilized and what the geographic bounds of such a project would be. An alternatives analysis is a classic type of planning study where you evaluate a transportation problem and typically a corridor or a market area and determine the possible options for delivering transit service within that market. So that's what we would be doing in this study. Metro, alongside the City of St. Louis Board of Public Service, would manage the overall consultant effort. The Board of Public Service has already selected their consultant, and they're awaiting execution of this intergovernmental agreement before executing a contract. And the prime firm on that contract would be AECom. Are there any questions I may answer for you?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner.
The funding for this, I talked with Talby, and he was going to have, I think, Tammy or somebody have an explanation. What is going to be the cost? I see in here where it says none to the district except for some of the oversight, I guess it is, staff time. Is there any cost on what that estimate on what that's going to be?
Commissioner, we don't have an estimate, and typically on a study like this, we would not prepare a cost estimate. I know in our next agenda item that is being done in the MAA with Mid-America Airport. That was done at the behest of St. Clair County Transit District. With respect to billing, though, Metro, because of the funding relationship we have with both the city of St. Louis and St. Louis County, is able to use Prop A local funding to support the staff time associated with that effort. I also want to note that in terms of level of effort, to contrast that with the Mid-America Airport extension design is very different. This is much lighter duty project. So if Tammy would like to comment on how those funds are drawn down to support staff time for the north side, south side work, that would be helpful.
Yes. So what happens is we actually bill these for the project. And what we do every year when we budget, we actually budget and request capital funds from the city and the county, Prop M funds that we have set aside for projects such as this. So that match is here. If it's a 20% match, or if we need funds at 100%, we have those funds available on hand to pay those as those expenses come through.
So there's no way to determine how many hours of staff time that's going to be involved in a project like this?
Commissioner, we can determine the number of hours of staff time. That's not been included in this intergovernmental agreement, but if you'd like, we can provide an estimate.
Speaking for myself, yes, I would like to see that, because I'd like to know what we can expect to expend on this. So I'd like to have that. I don't know if any of the other commissioners have any question on it.
That would be useful.
Since you asked, Herb, that's a good idea. I wanted to follow up just to make sure I understand. So the actual consulting work for the technical consulting work will be done by an outside firm, AECom.
Correct.
What exactly is Bi-State's role?
So Bi-State really is playing a leading advisory role in reviewing work products coming from AECom, assisting the city of St. Louis with evaluating those work products. We assisted in the development of the scope. We would be participating in an array of meetings. We are not administering the contract. That is the duty of the Board of Public Service. So this is very similar to our role in a number of other regional transportation studies.
Thank you. Do you think it's possible to have some kind of an estimate about the costs associated, including the hours?
I do. Yeah, certainly, Commissioner. We have a clear scope of work for performance, and we can estimate staff time required for that.
My one follow-up question is two actually. What's the length of the study? And when we did this in the past, when this conversation about North Side, South Side came up, it was always that the city was going to, the geographic area within which the scope of the study encompasses is strictly the city limits. Is that still the case?
So at this time, Commissioner, the city is focused on the confines of the city of St. Louis boundaries. The scope could be, the geographic scope that is, could be extended to go beyond the city boundaries into St. Louis County. And that would need to be a joint decision by the city of St. Louis and St. Louis County working together. So that's answer to your second question. And then you had another question. Timing. So the scope of work called for the work to be completed within 12 to 18 months. Upon issuing a notice to proceed, AECom would develop and submit a project schedule. So we have yet to see the detailed project schedule, but it would be completed in less than 18 months.
I wish that the study was going on with the other entity involved, which is the county. So, I mean, I understand why the city's moving forward in this way, but I don't think it's a particularly productive way to look at a certain corridor within only one metro area geographic boundary. So that's just a comment I'm making for the record. I wish we were looking at the full scope.
So I agree with you, Commissioner Windmiller. I think you're absolutely right about that. And I will continue to make my efforts to include this in a more cooperative relationship, especially on the planning side. So I have made some of those requests of our partners. I think part of it is also the timing of this is tough in that both of those governmental entities, I think, are a little busy right now. And So I think that has just something to do with it. In addition, just to quickly answer the accounting, I think it's perfectly reasonable for us to provide an estimate if the Board of Commissioners would like us to do. But in addition to that, what we could do is at the conclusion of the project, we could actually show what our billable time was on that, which of course, that is how our engineering department typically allocate their costs so that they are applied to the individual capital projects. That is a standard practice. And of course it is auditable, and it is can be pulled out of our numbers in arrears as well. So we have a good tradition of meeting reasonable metrics associated with that. And I think it's a perfectly reasonable request, not only to look at it in front, but also, in arrears.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
I have a motion to have the information that I've requested before I vote on it.
You would like that to be in a formal motion?
That's correct.
Are you making that motion?
Yes, I make that motion.
I second that. Any other comments about that motion before we vote on that, which is to provide the additional information that was requested? Hearing none, can we vote on that, please? Herb, are you okay with a voice vote?
Yes.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Now back to the original motion, which is to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the City of St. Louis and Bi-State Resolution 1107. Is there a motion to approve?
I have a question on this. Would this be subject to getting that information that Herb wanted first before it's approved? Or are we approving it? I'm not sure how this works in conjunction with the motion that we just voted on.
So I believe that the motion that we just passed was information for informational purposes only.
Okay.
Unless, I don't want to speak for Herb, so that was what I was voting on. Perhaps we should have clarified that. Herb, do you have
I'm going to vote no until I receive the information I requested on the resolution also.
So do we want to withdraw the motion?
I would recommend that we, a motion to table this until that information is provided.
I may second that, but maybe we should see what is the timeline the city's expecting on this, right? So I mean, is this, if we continue this till the next meeting, is this going to have a problematic effect on that?
So Commissioner, the City of St. Louis is awaiting execution of this intergovernmental agreement to award a contract to their chosen vendor. We can have the information to you very quickly. Our next committee meeting is the Operations Committee and Finance next Friday, January 22nd, though I'm not sure if we have a quorum of the full board at that date. So that's just a little bit on the timing that we'll need, just a few business days. Regarding when the commission would be able to come together again to vote to approve this intergovernmental agreement is a separate timing issue.
So I guess we could vote on it next Friday, assuming that we have the number of commissioners we need at the meeting.
Well, I would ask whether or not that's a point of order, because I think that the MOA has to be approved at a board meeting with a quorum of the board, as opposed, unless we're able to do it at a committee meeting where we have a quorum of the board. But I'm going to defer to either Talby or to Barb Enkin about that issue.
Go ahead, Barb.
If you want to defer this item until next Friday, we would notice it up as a, in quotes, special meeting just for this one item. And we could do that prior to the start of the committee meetings, but we would have to have a quorum in attendance at that time to pass it.
Does it have to be, I guess my question then is, does it need to be done at a board meeting, or can it be done at a committee meeting that has a quorum of the full board?
No, it would be, we would notice this as a special meeting of the full board, and this would be the only item on the agenda,
Okay.
would be the MOA with the city.
Thank you. So I'm a little confused. What is the motion that we're currently discussing? Is it that we are going to hold off on, we're going to table this issue until the information that you requested and that we approved to be requested is presented to you?
That's
and to the
correct.
Full board?
That's my motion.
And that was the motion that was, that you put forward, and Commissioner Winmiller, you seconded, and it was approved.
So I will say that I was a little bit confused about that motion. I thought I was seconding a motion that we were going to receive the information, but it wasn't, the vote on the agreement was not predicated on receiving that prior to the vote. So
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to rescind my second because that was not what I was voting on.
All right.
I'll, if Herb's motion's pending, let's want to discuss it more. I guess I'll second his motion with the understanding that we're going to try to vote on this as quickly as possible again, if we get the information, which would be next week. So I'll second Herb's pending motion.
Can the motion please be repeated so that the full board knows what we're voting on?
Yeah, my motion is to, go ahead and repeat it.
I had down a motion to table this item until a further discussion is held and the additional information is submitted to the board.
That's my motion.
Seconded by Justin.
Okay.
So is there any more discussion on this particular motion? Hearing none, I guess we're ready to vote on this motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 I'm going to vote no. It isn't that I don't want the information, it's that I didn't want to hold the vote up based on just that information. So the chair votes no. Are there any other no's or abstentions?
I'll vote no as well for the same reason.
Any abstentions? Hearing none. What is the tally? Did the motion pass?
It did not.
Okay. So I'll make a new motion, which is that here's my concern. I don't want to have another board meeting specifically for this item. Because I don't necessarily think that that's a good use of board time. So I guess if we can be assured that there's going to be a quorum next week on the 22nd, we could vote on it then, but I don't have that assurance. So I'm going to renew the motion to approve the MOA.
Yep.
What, Toby?
Can I comment on this, Chair? So.
Then let me just withdraw my motion since we're still having a conversation.
I apologize. I'm trying to think of when is the proper time to insert my recommendation. So we negotiate these MOAs based on what is the standard practice and what mostly the individual client, in this case, it is specifically the city of St. Louis, okay, is requesting for their specific corridor. There is inevitably differences between the MOA, between the city's request and St. Clair's because of the difference in how the money is allocated and who controls the money. In the case of Illinois, there is a greater piece of oversight that's associated with state law and with St. Clair County Transit District. And the district has specifically asked for us to note and have a pre-negotiated not to exceed number. That's fine. The MOA, however, that is in front of you today is more typically of how we've been doing business for many, many decades, in which we have a direct billing that goes directly to capital accounts. You know, this is not unusual at all in how we operate, whether that be on Union Station Tunnel or whether it be on this circumstance. Providing an estimate, while certainly reasonable and something that we can do in advance on every single MOA, will make the voting of this body cumbersome and creates problem. We're literally struggling with that right now. It is not, I would argue, it is not really a policy decision, as a matter of fact. You rely on us to do the normal accounting that needs to be done. We do that, and we do that responsibly, and that's something that is the normal course of business. If we get into what are those individual instances, we could certainly make those estimates and provide them. It's a reasonable request. But to not vote on the MOA, I don't think that that's proper form for the board at this time. And it makes operating and literally us doing our job more complicated, and a job that's complicated as is. In any event, what we do is we cater the agreements to fit what the clients are asking for. And that accounts for the significant difference between the MOAs, between the city and St. Clair County. So I respectfully disagree with holding the vote based on this money. I do not disagree that if it's requested, we should provide it. Absolutely. We need to account for every single dollar that goes through this organization, and we will do so. But holding up the vote for that, I think, is not proper and not a good use of board time. Thank you.
I have a comment.
Certainly.
Okay. And I don't think it's a waste of the board's time. That's what we're here for. Question, Toby, how long has this project been in the making? And why is it just coming before us today, as if Jessica says that the city of St. Louis is waiting to get this done? Has this been in the making for some time?
Well, the project of overall north side, south side has been getting debated in the public realm for really years. The city specifically, when the project with the preferred alternative, which was a light rail alternative that was worked out through East-West Gateway, it is fully accurate to look at the overall capital requirements and what's coming in from, for instance, the taxing authority to figure out what capital will be available for projects. It is reasonable to say that the city does not, it would be difficult to come up with all of the revenue to build a light rail corridor. So the city, under its own accord, wanted to look at what are there some lower cost alternatives to a full light rail corridor, and that request was several months ago. I assigned staff to start looking at that and advise them to get a consultant, a technical consultant. In this case, AECom was selected, where the city went out with their procurement process, and we simply acted as an advisor on that. That's a normal role of what we do every single day here. I discussed it with the mayor and discussed it with some of their staff about just looking at this alternative, and that's what's before you, is literally to have them look at an alternative BRT, so a bus rapid transit corridor, which of course would be lower cost than light rail, for essentially the city to consider. So that specific idea has been getting worked on over the last few months. And of course, that gets let out by the city. They make the policy decisions associated with those corridors.
And I understand that, but just to piggyback on what you're saying, you know, it gets presented to us, and then when I look at it and I hear from both you and now Tammy and Jessica that you can provide this information, I would, and I don't like hearing about, well, this is what's been happening for decades. I mean, at times things have to change. So if it's that easy to have done in the future, I would like to see this type of issue be avoided by just having those numbers in there. You know, you keep talking about, we want to have the transparency. I want to see those numbers in there before I vote on something like that. I mean, when you negotiate it with St. Clair County, we had to tell you, and the way we did business over here, I understand that, you understand that. But if I'm a taxpayer in St. Louis or in Missouri, wherever the funds is coming from, I would want to know how much you were charging me.
So, and I'm not saying that we won't, don't, and regularly account for all these funds and do it and account for them in both internal and external audits. However, what your request does mean is that you are moving into what are the fundamentals and negotiations of an MOA. And the request from St. Clair is specific and reasonable. And of course, I revised the MOA associated with that request because that's what the client wants. It also has to do specifically with the idiosyncrasies of the different state funding, whether it's Missouri or Illinois. And we have provisions in fulfilling the obligation of financial oversight of you as a BSD board member, that we properly bill for these, for individual, both capital or operating, different requirements. That is standard practice. It is not, however, standard practice for us to, let's say, if we had, let's use as an example, we had a tunnel renovation in the downtown area where we got capital funding from FTA on to do a renovation of that nature. It is not standard practice for us to spend the extra time to give an engineer's estimate of how much money we're going to bill on that individual project at this level, Commissioner Simmons. That is a detail that if we went over every single one of those details would indeed, in my opinion, bog this commission down. Okay, we certainly can do all this. I'm just saying we're talking about what is the pivot point that is reasonable for us to provide the details. I think it's perfectly fine to provide the detail. I agree with you there, but I think it is also reasonable to ask for your positive vote on a MOA. And so I'm just trying to make that point. I think it's very fair and reasonable to debate, and I'm happy to discuss it.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments particular to just the issue in general of the MOA? Okay, so I'm going to reintroduce the motion to approve the MOA currently as written, and to provide the board by next week's operations committee meeting, or the date, which is I believe it's the 22nd, with the financial information which affects by state. So the hours, the cost of supporting this MOA. That is the motion I am making.
Excuse me, Commissioner, before we proceed, I believe with the last vote, that vote may have passed. I did not see that Commissioner Johnson had joined the meeting, so I was under the impression only 4 members of Missouri, of the Missouri commissioners were present. However, Commissioner Johnson had joined the meeting. Therefore, that vote did pass if 3 of the 5 Missouri commissioners voted yes.
Thank you, Myra. So that means that the previous motion, which was to table this until the information is provided, has passed.
That is correct.
Well, I think that ends the conversation on that then. So hopefully we'll be able to vote on that after the information is provided and is appropriate to the concerns of the board. So thank
And I
you.
apologize for the confusion with the Zoom meeting. It's sometimes difficult when someone joins.
I certainly understand. Thank you for correcting that. So we can now move on to item number 5, which is the intergovernmental agreement between St. Clair County Transit and Bi-State over the Mid-America St. Louis Airport Metrolink extension. That's resolution number 1071. And I believe Talby has some comments for us.
Yeah, that's right. This is you have the MOA before you, which was specifically negotiated with St. Clair County in a modified form in order to accommodate some of the unique funding situation for this project. In this project, the funding is coming from the state of Illinois through the district, which is consistent with state law. And also the district is taking more of a leadership role with the specific engineering. And therefore they requested us to do a not to exceed number, which we negotiated in good faith. The district has also passed this exact MOA. So the third document in your grouping. And it provides for several details associated with this exciting project. We did assist the district in going out and selecting an engineering firm within our procurement process, and that has been successfully done. They also have picked a project consultant, Gonzalez Engineering, who we have a very close working relationship and is doing an excellent job right now. So I'm very excited just to move forward on this. I would very much appreciate your positive vote in regards to it. Again, the funding does come directly from the state of Illinois. And just as a point of clarification, the district manager asked me to make this, the negotiated compensation for some of the engineering and oversight costs that we would have. Of course, normally we would bill those within capital projects if it were, for instance, federally funded. This is not. So we have to negotiate that with the district. And so we have negotiated not to exceed number of $2 million for that. And that is to be paid in arrears once we accept the project. Okay. That is very doable within our constraints as far as our budget is concerned. And I think it's a very positive and a great step for the whole region. So I would appreciate your support, and I'll just pause and try to address any questions.
Any questions from the board?
I just have one comment, and Toby, I want to thank you for that. And on page 34, it does spell out there that the reimbursement to us is in a lump sum of $2 million for the cost of staff time expended during the execution of the project. I'm glad you pointed that out. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. I'm sorry.
I was going to make the motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Simmons abstains.
Thank you. So I think now that concludes the business portion of our meeting, but I will say that I was remiss. I did not, unfortunately, I'm sorry about this, Commissioner Gladney. I didn't welcome you to your first meeting. I
That's
apologize
all right.
for that. Sometimes in the heat of trying to get the meeting started and seeing people's pictures on a screen as opposed to being in the same room, I was remiss. I'm so sorry. Welcome so much to the board. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you have a minute, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you for the welcome. I actually just got back from Jeff City yesterday for my confirmation hearing, so that's all out of the way now. I was born and raised in St. Louis County, joined the Army after high school, went to West Point, did a few tours in Iraq, came back and started practicing law. Went to law school in Kansas City. And that's what I've been up to since then. I was a writer of both the Metro Bus and Metrolink since I was a little kid. So this has been a passion of mine, and I know the importance of this agency in this region. So I was honored to be nominated and look forward to meeting all of you in person once, hopefully once this vaccine's out and we can all get together in person and getting to know everybody, and excited to be a part of the team. So thank you for the welcome, and it's my honor to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So does that mean that all of our commissioners in Missouri have been approved? Nate, was your commission, your committee hearing yesterday as well?
No, my hearing was last year, and I didn't get anything formal in response to it. So I don't know if I'm expected to get something formally, but it's been several months at this point.
Oh, I for some reason I thought that they had adjourned before they did any appointments. So
Yeah, and I don't think they've had my vote yet. I think that's coming up. So we should be approved here shortly.
that's great. Well, welcome, and
Thank you.
I think now I can ask for a motion to adjourn to executive session. So that would, in executive session for the purpose of discussing legal, confidential, or privileged matters as permitted under by State Development Board Policy, Chapter 10, Section 10.080, D1 legal, D3 personnel, and D5 employee negotiations. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion. Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Commissioner Winmiller,
Aye.
Commissioner Beach,
Yes.
Commissioner Costello,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Zimmerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Galladay,
Yes.
Commissioner Gladney.
Yes.
The motion passed.
Thank you. We'll have a little bit of a break while we get set up in executive session.
Thank you for your patience. We're now ready to proceed.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm reconvening the Special Board of Commissioners meeting Thursday, January 14th, 2021. The board has reconvened. I would ask for a motion to approve the ATU Local 788 Call Ride Unit Labor Agreement Negotiation Financial Parameters as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Would you call the roll, please, Myra?
Commissioner Beach,
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Commissioner Winmiller,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Costello,
Aye.
Commissioner Galladay,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Gladney,
Aye.
Commissioner Zimmerman. Motion passed.
Thank you. If there's no further business, I would request a motion to adjourn the regular meeting.
So move. Second. Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. We are adjourned.
Commissioner Simmons, we are ready.
Okay. We will call the meeting to order. Myra, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Simmons,
Here.
Commissioner Winmiller,
Present.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Cox, Commissioner Galladay,
Here.
Commissioner Costello,
Present.
Commissioner Beach,
Here.
Commissioner Gladney,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Zimmerman.
Myra, was there any cards presented, speaker cards?
No, there were no speaker cards presented for today's meeting.
Fine, thank you. Moving on, this time I'd like to have Kevin Scott for some comments. I understand possibly he has a guest today.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I wanted to take an opportunity to introduce the new captain assigned to the Metrolink Police Task Force. As some of you probably know, about 3.5 months ago, under Chief Barton, changes were made. And Captain Scott Melius, who we had for a number of years assigned to the task force here from St. Louis County, was transferred to their West County precinct. And we received Captain Melissa Webb from the Afton Southwest precinct. She's actually sitting right next to me here for a matter of more efficient logistics, and I would like to give an introduction to her. She's a 25-year veteran of the St. Louis County Police Department. And like I said, she's been assigned to the task force for 3.5 months. During her time here, I've known her for quite some time, and during her time here, she's proven to be a very effective and progressive police leader that really does understand the holistic and comprehensive approach that we're trying to take from a public safety perspective. She's profoundly supportive of regionalization and the importance of the Metrolink asset and the services that we provide. So we're just going to exchange chairs for just a minute, but I would like for her to say a few words and for you to be able to put a face with the name. So I would again like to introduce Captain Melissa Webb from the St. Louis County Police Department.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Captain.
Good morning.
Right.
It has been my pleasure to be down here for the last 3.5 months. I've actually been enlightened and educated. And as Kevin has said, regionally, I believe in the regionalization of our community. And I'm wearing this, and I'm sure a few of you can see my mask. St. Louis means a lot to me. My church is here. I was just there yesterday picking up Lebanese food from St. Raymond's. I have grown up I grew up in Ferguson. My father had a small business in St. Louis City. I moved to the county. I live in the county, and obviously I work for St. Louis County. So I really understand that we have got to stop looking as we have in the past, that things are segmented. And I'm going to bring that viewpoint to our line also. We can no longer look at the Metrolink system as a segmented St. Clair County, St. Louis City, St. Louis County. We can't look that way. We actually have to look at that as one community. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you. And if there's ever a time that you have a question or you have a concern, I hope that you will address those to me so that we can work forward as a team together.
Well, very good. I'd like to just start off by saying I really appreciate the regional approach comment. I think that is something that we all need to focus on nowadays. And I hope that you've been opened with arms by our staff with Kevin has been doing a tremendous job. And I'm excited about what I've been seeing since this committee has been started. And I think you're going to be a great addition to that.
Thank you, sir. It's been phenomenal, and you all have done a great job of opening your arms up. Kevin's doing a phenomenal job. Steve, all the team has been great bringing me on and onboarding me, and I look forward to everything that we're going to be doing in the future.
Good. Does any of the commissioners have any comments for the captain?
I just want to say on a personal note, I miss sitting down on Wednesdays and having Kibby at St. Raymond's in person. So I'm ready for the vaccine so we can all sit down together.
Wonderful. I would love to bring you to the church, and I'd love for us to sit down and have lunch. That would be phenomenal.
I'm sort of a regular there in the past anyway. So
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you for participating in the church and its success. We're trying to get it back open, right? We've got to get things back open and get everything moving forward, correct?
right.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to a lunch with you, sir.
I'll be there.
Anybody else have any comments for the captain?
Just wanted to say welcome. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, ma'am. It's our honor.
All right. Thank you, Captain. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Good.
Thank you.
Kevin, do you have anything else on that topic?
No, I just wanted to, again, this is an important relationship. This is a big change for us. Certainly, the assignment with Captain Melius, he was here for a long time. And this really, I'm really excited. We appreciate, obviously, everything that he did to support us in September when we got here. I'm very excited about what Melissa brings to the table. Again, she's a very progressive individual, not scared to step outside of lethargic parameters that have held us back in the past. And I think this puts us in a position to really forge forward with a one collaborative team concept. So thank you for, Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing me the time to make the introduction.
I have one question. Some of the offline conversations that you and I have had since you've been here with some of those concerns, do you feel this is a step in the right direction?
100%, sir.
Very good. I appreciate that. And I'm sure we'll be talking later on.
Chair, if I may, just for a sec.
Yes, sir.
So one of the things that I think is most important, and I just think it's discernible on the call, is the passion and really the enthusiasm for providing the public what we need to do. We're starting to get that enthusiasm. That is backed up by the Board of Commissioners. But just in the cultural change that has started to occur here at Bi-State, we're seeing that discernible in security. It's absolutely true that we still have work to do. This is a work in progress. But I think that it is as obvious and just in the presentation, the enthusiasm of the captain and the professionalism that is shown. And this is backed up, for instance, by Lieutenant Pete in St. Clair County, by, for instance, Lieutenant Cruz in the city. These are uniforms that are working together. And I would point out, as I did on the radio the other day on KMOX, we haven't seen these uniforms working together in our city. That's what we should be having, but we're doing it on Metrolink right now today. And I think we should all be proud and enthusiastic about that occurrence. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you, Toby. Moving on, we need approval of the minutes of the August 13th, 2020 Security Subcommittee meeting. Is there any corrections that need to be made? Hearing none, I need a motion to accept them and place them on file.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. And we need a roll call vote.
No.
No. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Ayes have it.
Moving on. I'm sorry, Wynn Miller abstains. I wasn't at the meeting.
I abstained as well because I wasn't the commissioner then.
Fine, thank you. Moving on, presentation the exclusions under the Metro Transit System Ride and Abide policy. Stephen Barry and Kevin Scott.
Dave, you got to take this one.
Sure. Well, still good morning and happy new year to everybody. We have had the Ride and Abide program up and running. The last time we met, we gave you a very small brief on the introduction of the program and how it initially kicked off. It only been in play for a few weeks. Now we have several months underneath our belt, and Kevin and I want to emulate the success that we are having with the program as it still makes its way into a regular part of our business function. Currently, our Ride and Abide program shows deliberate promise in delivering on the expectations while we had originally built this last year. We have 14 current participants in the program. We have received 0 requests for hearings. And we feel that this is part of the way, one, the Ride and Abide program had been vetted in the initial with all of our stakeholders. And we also feel that the professionalism that is being delivered by our partners with our task force, G4S, and our current structure with the transit security specialists have done a wonderful job. We feel that this program will focus on the 5%ers that we consider sometimes related to trespassing, recurrence, the number of damages that occur to our units, platforms, rail cars, buses, and then the gravity of the type of event. And of course, we are looking for repeat. But at this point, we feel that it's going very well. We just wanted to follow up to give you a very minor update on that. It's been several months. Nothing's changed other than we have a few more participants, and it's going very well.
Very good. Any comments for Stephen on that? Okay, thanks, Stephen. Kevin, appreciate it. Moving on, yep, the media and community engagement efforts. Again, Stephen and Ted Zimmerman.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll step in on this one. You know, I cannot stress to our board enough about the importance of reselling our product back to the region. Mr. Roach and I have had numerous conversations. Steve and I, numerous conversations. When you talk about the daily deployments, the daily construct of a more concise, comprehensive, or holistic public safety approach, counter to that, not counter to it, but simultaneously, there has to be this profound messaging back to the region. We have to convince the broader region, choice ridership, that we are making changes, that we're welcome, that we want to provide a welcoming and safe service. And we've been working very closely with Ted Zimmerman and his team. They've been a phenomenal help to us. We've definitely come up with a number of innovative approaches to make those outreaches more effective. You know, we've set up an internal tour program here at Public Safety where we're building relationships throughout the region. And we asked Ted and Patty back if they could put together just an overview summary of all of the things that we have partnered with them over the last, few months. And we've really become very aggressive in our messaging, and we need to continue to do that. We should never take our foot off the accelerator. The St. Louis region is a very different type approach in that we have to resell our system back to the region one area at a time and build those personal relationships and put a face to the system, put a personality to the system. So Ted and Patty did produce that summary for us. And I know that Myra emailed that out to the broader board yesterday or the day before, and we hope that you had an opportunity to take a look at it. But I would ask my colleague, Ted Zimmerman, if you wouldn't mind kind of giving an overview of that summary and all the innovative things that we've been able to partner on.
Thanks, Kevin. Good morning, commissioners. So just to share kind of a brief overview of our strategy and our results. Our strategy has really been we want to help ensure that information about the real progress being made to enhance security on the system is targeted to the right audiences. When we're doing that, we're also building upon strong media partnerships, which is really helping us from the perspective of when we need to set the record straight. If there's a false or a misleading piece of content about our transit system, we're able to have those conversations. And so when we find ourselves in those situations where there's, the misleading or the sensational headlines, what we do is we strive to correct them. So our practice is this: we request additional airtime. For instance, Talby on KMOX earlier is a part of that. And by the way, Talby and Kevin are doing an excellent job of promoting that message when we're going out. So I really appreciate having professional individuals that are out there really touting that message for us as well. It makes my job a lot easier in the teams. But as we do that, the other side is that we're working to really proactively look at how we infuse our public messages out there and highlighting the vital role that bi-state development and Metro are playing within the community. Not second to it, but a part of our strategy is also that we're leveraging the expertise and voices of our law enforcement partners and our regional influencers, where a third party can be more effective in cutting through the noise. This also helps us to reinforce a unified message about transit here in St. Louis. So as we do that, we're amplifying the message internally too by building stronger communications channels that provide all of our team members with useful information about public safety and the operation. Keeping them informed of the real progress that's going on helps us to spread our message, and we go through that. And finally, just a part of that strategy is we're humanizing the organization in our efforts. We're promoting positive stories about Metro team members to internal and external audiences. What we're quite pleased with is just where our results have been over the past 12 months. We've secured 288 placements. What that translates into is a total reach of about 9.8 million people that are seeing the stories, that are hearing the radio interviews, whether it's a Facebook or something that's done on social media or through any of the traditional news media outlets such as print and TV. And what it also helps us to do is to extend our dollars. And so the free dollars that we get from this kind of publicity is nearly $1.1 million in publicity. That's something that we can't pay for. And it really helps us to extend that message. So as with public safety, our work is not complete at this point in time. We're continuing to work with Talby and Kevin in adjusting strategies, leveraging our partnerships and looking for new spaces to tell the stories. So do you have any questions?
Any commissioners have any questions? If not, I'd like to just make a comment, and I don't want to jinx this, but I judge a lot of our success on what you people are doing by turning on the news media and not seeing the negative as we were for some time. It's really a treat to know that we are making strides in doing that. And I go back to here a short time ago, we had information sent where one of our employees was carrying a rider on his back. I mean, those are the type of positive things that I think just really changes the image of what we're trying to do here. And I want to thank Kevin and everybody involved in trying to get us on that right track. And you all need to be commended for doing that. I appreciate that.
Sure. Commissioners, if in the future, if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me and we'd be happy to sit down and talk or whatever we can do in that side. Thank you for allowing us the time.
I have Kevin on speed dial.
Hey, Commissioner, Mr. Chair, from one old policeman to the other, now that you made those very nice comments, find some wood to knock on for me, would you?
You see, that's what I was doing here, so I didn't want to jinx us.
Herb, I just have one quick question.
Yes.
For Ted. Ted, you mentioned that there are, groups that you work with, and I think third party and external support is really important for bi-state. So can you sort of just give me some ideas of how you work and with whom you work to project a good image for the organization with the public?
I'd be happy to. So one of the main groups that we work with is CMT. And I know Commissioner Windmiller, you're very familiar with CMT. CMT has really been useful in that process. Other organizations that we're working with are, within other industries, whether we're looking at tourism and the hospitality world, all of our partners that are, as far as organizations that work with us in planning and development, we're tagging all of those individuals as well. So if you have partnerships that you think that might be interesting to us or that might be a benefit, I'm happy to hear about those too and start developing those relationships.
So I'm just going to put in a plug for the higher ed community, and I'm not going to speak for Fred, but I'll just say that, I know a large portion of writers are K through 12 or higher ed students, faculty, and staff. So anything that our organizations can do to be helpful, I hope there's a degree of separation for me because of the contract that Bi-State has with the university related to ridership, but certainly I would encourage you to have a strong relationship with the folks at the local higher ed institutions.
Definitely. Thank you for that.
I agree. Thanks, Rob.
A great effort.
Kevin, have we done anything that I missed with the new captain? Maybe doing photo ops with the St. Louis and the St. Clair County Sheriff on just kind of introducing her to the public?
We have, Ted and his team have done some of that. We'll continue to do that. The documentation that we sent does have some of that in there. Mr. Chair, what is important to me is, and I think it's important to our broader team, Steve and Vern, is that we mesh into a one team component, that we all work together on a daily basis, and we really become an example for the region, a microcosmic example of collaboration and what needs to happen within the broader region. We're well on our way in doing that, and we meet in concert on a daily basis. We share information, we work together, and that really is what is profoundly different than what we found when we got here. So I know Ted and Patty are very in tune to that and will help us push that messaging out.
Very good.
Commissioner,
yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's not just Patty and I, there is a team that's really helping us from the perspective of social media and engagement and graphics and all those. And I just have to say, they're wonderful to work with. They're a professional group that's really helping us to move us forward too. So I just want to give them those kudos to you as well.
I see the social media posts daily, so it's a great, you're doing good work.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
Keep doing what you're doing, because it, again, I'm knocking on wood, Kevin, it seems to be working. So that's what we want to do. Okay, moving right along, update on the comprehensive training program, Stephen Barry.
Thank you, Commissioner. So approximately a year ago, BSD was awarded a FTA training grant that allows us to reach out to our staff at a higher level than what we're normally accustomed to. What this does is it provides us with the funds to not only hire third-party experts in the field of mental health, trauma, and then also in-house on de-escalation, outside the house human trafficking, and of course safety and security efforts that have been pushed by the FTA and the TSA. We worked diligently for 6 months to put together a robust platform that allows for a variety of learning subject areas and technologies. Because as you know, commissioners, COVID has taken the ability to have just typical classroom environment training sessions down to a different and new experience. So what we have been able to do is build the platform that is live. The students sign in and they go through live sessions with experts on trauma and mental health for approximately 2.5 hours. Then they go into human trafficking, which is based off state and national information. Then they come back and go through a live session for de-escalation with live instructors. And then they go into a web-based, computer-based training program that covers most of our important topics on safety and security to include drug and alcohol. This program started on January 5th. It runs 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays from 8 to 4:30. And right now we are averaging well above our expectation because we considered the first few weeks to be a little bit of a beta test. We encouraged our mid-level supervisors to be amongst the first to jump in so we can gather that feedback. And in approximately a week's time, we're going to hit the masses that is open to all members of BSD to include its contractors. That includes G4S, that includes our law enforcement partners, that includes all those that work on or around our alignment. First of its kind. I have already been reached out to on a much broader level, inquiring about our effort. So word definitely gets around. We look to have this completed by mid-July, and we are hoping to have a resounding effect on those areas that we are seeing in the transit environment, which again, some of those topic areas are quite important. I want to affirm that the trauma and mental health awareness portion is not something that we farmed out to someplace out in Nevada. This is being worked on right here amongst our regional partners in this arena. De-escalation, which has been one of those very important topic areas dealing with your frontline employees, primarily bus operators, but also mechanics, rail right-of-way workers, your rail operators, and public safety officers. This is a very important tool to make sure that we have a very clear understanding on how to interact with those that we may not understand. And so what we're looking for is an equitable way to come in and make sure that violence is absolutely always the last objective in any shape, or form, and that we are having a positive outcome. And I'd like to include that over the last couple of months, Kevin and I have been working with a couple of other agencies as well to make sure that the tools that are in place, that when we do identify those that are experiencing mental health or trauma impacts, that they have another place to go. That we're not just saying, oh, we identified it. That's not enough. We're actually encouraging another step. So those individuals, we understand who they are and where we can go. So we don't have repeat scenarios that could have been avoided. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Stephen? Well, it sounds like a very interesting project that you've got going on there, and we appreciate all the work that's going into it, and we look forward to seeing some positive, more positive results come out of it.
Thank you, Commissioner. I look forward to reporting back with some really interesting stats here on our next turnaround.
Very good, thank you. Next item is the update on the system safety and by-state development oversight, and we'll have Stephen back at that.
Thank you very much.
Man of the hour.
Lots to discuss on the level of oversight. Commissioners, want you to know that we were very successful in turning in our public transportation agency safety plan. It was executed back in the month of July. While that was a distinct move away from our original plan, first of its kind, as we accept the safety management system as part of our bread and butter here at Bi-State, we are already going into our annual review of the agency safety plan. That means it goes back through a diligent review amongst all those that are involved. And as we look to do and conduct our review, we're happy to report that we, while we are going to do the review, we don't have any major concerns in regards to going through the review. The actual document that you signed back in July was done so well that we do not expect any major concerns. We have full support from our Bi-State SSO, and we look forward to presenting that to you probably, I would say, mid-spring. Hours of service that we took a look at, this is notable from the Metrolink operations. We want to report no major violations. They've done a wonderful job in making sure that we meet or exceed the regulations that we follow for hours of service. Commissioner, what that means is that if someone goes in to operate the rail, that we have a certain set amount of hours that they should be behind the screen. And this is very important because, as you know, fatigue awareness and management is an absolute critical point in making sure that you run a safe and secure rail environment. Also to report out that through the Office of Audit, we concluded an audit with Kensington Consultants as a third party to come in and look at some safety items amongst our alignment. And I hope I'm not stealing anyone's thunder, but again, the audit went quite well. We only had a handful of very minor of observations. We had a couple of issues that we wanted to touch, but we had 0 major violations. And I think that's a testament to operations and how they've been handling the safety and security envelope as it's developed from safety management systems. It's very important to understand that safety management is not something that we were doing here at Bi-State in years past. And the reason why this is brought up, safety management systems is a philosophy, but it's also a program that the FTA says that we will participate on. I could tell you that our executive director and CEO have wholly sworn into following the process and that they support their staff very much. And I can tell you that's very important because it's not something that we were doing previously. Lastly, on safety and security, that is in alignment with Oversight. Our Q3 performance report is now available. We're happy to share that with anyone who would like to take a look at it in regards to our accidents and incidents. And we look forward to sharing any information with any questions you may have. Available for any questions.
Any questions for Stephen on that? Or any comments? Thank you again, Stephen, for the work. Appreciate it and looking forward for updates.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Next item is the possibility of an executive session on the approval of the executive meeting on August 13th, 2020. If there is no corrections or additions, we could actually not go into an executive session.
I have no reason to do so, Commissioner.
Okay. Okay, at that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the August 13th, 2020 Security Subcommittee Executive Session as presented as a closed record. Need a motion and a roll call.
So moved.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Costello,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Galladay,
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Commissioner Winmiller,
Abstain?
Commissioner Gladney,
Abstain.
Commissioner Beach,
Yes.
the motion passed.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Roach, you have anything for the good of the order for the committee?
I do not, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Anybody have any questions for Toby while he's here? Okay, if not, no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.